T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Rock the world, rock the world. With me, no worries, come with me. No worries, just come with me. No worries, just come with me.
What up? What up? What is up? We are live.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
Welcome to the King and Me show. I'm King.
And I'm me, Michelle. Hey y'all, hey.
This isn't a normal time where the King and Me show will go live, as it is not Monday.
It is not. Sorry, you gotta excuse me. I'm a little bit distracted because since tomorrow is New Year's Eve, you currently got some fireworks popping off outside. Not you the person, but like your neighborhood decided, oh, we about to be litty for 2024.
Maybe they're from the future, so they're popping off their fireworks now.
Danger, danger, Will Robinson.
Yeah. Hey, future people out there popping fireworks, send me them Powerball numbers.
Yes, please and thank you.
So, we're back.
We're back.
We went on a trip. If you're
Welcome
following
back.
our
Welcome back.
social media,
Welcome back.
then you will know that Michelle and I, over the Christmas break from December the 24th through today, December the 30th, decided to take a little trip.
A little trippity trip.
We ended up going up north a bit, up to Niagara Falls and into Canada.
Ooh. How was Castle saying it? Canada? Is that what she was saying?
Yes.
Canada.
And it was a blast. It was Michelle and I's second Christmas together. And the first one with Castle, which is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, just a quick recap, overall,
Yeah.
it was worth it.
Oh, definitely worth it. I legitimately and wholeheartedly feel bad for your debit card, but...
Oh, you know, the budget got used. Let me tell you. So, I ain't broke, but I ain't rich either.
Oh.
And when I kind of had an idea of what the budget would be like, honestly, we were right on budget. I'm going to go over everything on my Tuesday live on my own personal one. I want to sit down kind of like line by line and see what the total was, and just kind of break it down for people that if they're looking at taking a trip with their loved ones, I can give you the perfect example of what something like that would be for a family of 3 over the holidays. We could have gone up. We could have saved a little bit here and there, depending on how we plan things. But for me, it wasn't about the money per se. It was about the experience.
And it was a great experience. So, you know, I know we're going to get into it. You can lead how you want to, but I will say that for me, it was a wonderful experience. Someone had commented, the Better Than Perfect podcast had commented and asked, like, what did we enjoy the most? And, you know, I gave a response, but then I took some time to think about it as you were driving. And I was like, no, what I loved the most was the experience and the memories that we created. Definitely the best part, hands down.
There was something going around on social media talking about screw gifts, like going into the future. Let's take trips and create memories and experiences together. And I've never been anybody that was about gifts, mainly because growing up, I really wasn't one to be bestowed gifts like that. But gifts were never really an important thing for me. We've talked about love languages in the past, and I think we're also going to talk about it in the future as well. But understanding that for me, like acts of service mean more to me, and part of that acts of service falls into the experiences that you can have while traveling. So,
Well, I think I told you about a former student that I had. She was the youngest of three girls, and her mom, single mom, her mom did not give them any of the three girls birthday gifts, Christmas gifts. They didn't give their mom anything, nothing like that. But they went on trips. So you're talking about 4 different birthdays throughout the year and Christmas, they would be on a trip. So that was 5 guaranteed trips that they took every year. A trip for each person's birthday and a trip for Christmas. But they gave no gifts in between. Like nothing. You ain't get nothing else. You got the bare minimum that you need to be able to function as a student. But 5 times a year, you finna get a trip. So
I like that. And that goes into what I'm going to be talking about on my own personal live stream going into 2024. It's really going to be about getting my finances in order so that in 2025 and beyond, if we want to up and go to Jamaica like somebody who I know is in Jamaica right now, who shares my bloodline, then I can do that, create the travel itinerary and just go.
All right.
Shout out to Perry Productions. He said, hello, watching from Missouri. Hey, I heard you were up under the weather. So I don't know if that's going to impact what you got going on for New Year's, man. But get well soon, brother. Get well soon. I got some work for you too, man, that I'm going to send you. But I'm going to wait till after the New Year's to send it to you.
Okay.
All right. So today we're just going to do a recap, essentially. And there's a post that I saw.
Ooh, okay, I'm ready. Are we doing that first?
Let's do that first, and then we'll get into our recap to finish out the show. Okay? So let's see if I can do this right. Producer, I need you to fix things. All right? 3, 2, 1. Hey, snap your finger real quick. Bam! Ooh! Okay, so this was going around, and it said men only. Fellas, rank these things from most important to least important for you when choosing a woman to be in a relationship with. And excuse me for a second, because I'm going to have to bring this up on my phone here.
I got mine.
But it says, 1, her career. 2, how much money she makes. 3, education level. 4, looks and shape. 5, homemaking skills. 6, how she makes you feel, appreciated, respected. 7, positive personality and mindset. 8 is feminine, pleasant, classy, attitude, demeanor. Pleasant is spelt wrong, I think. And
it is.
9 is willingness to please you sexually. Shout out to Free T's in the building.
Hey, Taj, how are you?
What up, Taj? We didn't think that because we just decided to go.
We just let me create a banner real quick while King is driving and
so we didn't think people would pop up, but we appreciate y'all that did have the time to come in. So I asked Michelle to rate it from most important to least important for what she thought I would pick. Now, what's the best way to execute this? Should you list your...
I'm gonna do you a solid.
Right.
I literally, so that I could remember them, I put them in a text message. So I'm going to text you the numbers.
Okay.
The first line is the order in which I thought you would put it. And the second line is the order in which I would put it if someone were asking me these questions about a man.
Okay.
So hit send on that.
So let me ask you though, do you think that this same 9 would be the same list though?
So I will explain it when we get to that point.
All right. So you've hit send.
I did.
Ooh. Okay. 1, 3. Okay. All right. So
how many did I get right?
The top 3 you got spot on.
Hey. All right.
The 5th. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The top 3 you got spot on. Actually, I would have to move one. You might be You might be close. Not all the way right, but close. Because I put here, I'll just go over it. So my list was 8, 6, 7.
All right, so King is saying that for him, the order of most important would be first number 8. Feminine, pleasant, spelled correctly, not the way that's spelled. Classy attitude, demeanor. Then he's saying that the second one for him would be number 6. How she makes you feel appreciated and respected. Full disclosure, I did have that as the first one. And then I was like, nope, he wants feminine energy. Let me change it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is number 7, which is positive personality and mindset. So those were the first 3 in your order. What comes next? What's the fourth one on your list?
So I put 9. But when I think more about it,
That's
I
not
actually,
true.
yes, I would slide that down.
Yeah.
So moving that out the way, 4th would be 8, 6, 7, 4. So far you're right. You're right.
Hey, 4. So his fourth one in line would be looks and shape. And understand that's not because King is over here overall caring about someone's looks, but that's to say that after you take care of, how does she treat him? How does she make him feel? How's her overall personality? Then he does care about the looks.
Then after that,
Mm-hmm.
because I am going to need to adjust this for a second. So after that, I would say 5.
All right, so 5, her homemaking skills. So after her looks, King is saying homemaking skills. That's where we differ. Because for me, after looks, I assume that he would go with career. What does she do for a living?
Don't give a damn.
Ooh, okay.
Because, and I'll get why a little bit later on.
Okay.
All right, so after 5, reordering this, I would go 3.
All right, so we're in line with that. We're saying the 6th one is number 3, which is her education level. Okay.
All right. Then I'm going to say 9.
Then 9, and that's also what I had. Her willingness to please you sexually. So while we're going through this list, y'all look through the list. And oh, hey Pete. Hey,
What up,
thank you
Pete?
for joining.
Appreciate you popping in, man.
Go through this list, men, and rank your level of importance. And then for women, go ahead and put, like, if roles were reversed, how it would rank for you. And then Todd said most real men don't care what women do for a living. Apparently, yeah.
And then she said, that's my experience at least, so King is right
Yeah.
on that so far. Yes.
Okay. So after 9, because we're at the same place for 9, what is your number 8 in order? Your 8th one in order?
The number 2.
Number 2. Okay, so that's where we differ. Okay, because I said homemaking skills for that, and you're saying how much money she makes. Okay, and I said for me, looking at you, that you would care least about how much money she made.
Mm-hmm. For me, my least is her career.
Okay.
Her career, yep.
Okay.
Because there was a joke that went around where a guy shared a picture of a 2-star general, which is a major general in all branches of service, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Most branches anyway. And in it, the guy said, hey, my cougar just told me that she was about to leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
She put on this. This was her uniform. What does this mean? And the comments went bananas on it. And it was primarily ranging from keep her, get her pregnant, make sure you don't lose her. Y'all better have that, house and stuff ready when she get back in, yada, yada, because a 2-star general is important.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, you could be a general, you could be a NASA scientist, you could be a teacher, you could work wherever. Like, I'm just going to say the spectrum. I don't care what you do. If I love you, I'm going to support you no matter what. And hopefully be able to share in your accolades as you're doing things. But like, that's outside of the house. Like, while we're together, it's about what we got going on.
Okay.
So you being a rocket scientist, you being an astronaut, you being a 10-time gold medal gymnast
Stop.
doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay.
What's important to me is when we're together, how much do you value this relationship? How much do you value the respect between our covenant and things like that? And that's why your femininity, how you make me feel, and what did I say, 987, 867, and how positive you are. That's the type of stuff that matters for me in ranking.
Okay. All right. Nice. So I know y'all are probably dying to know what my order would be. So if someone gave me this list and told me to rank it in order of most important to least important for a man that I would be in a relationship with, let me go ahead and tell y'all how it falls. So the most important thing, number 6, how he makes me feel. Do I feel appreciated? Am I respected? That is the most important thing for me. Followed by number 7, his personality. Is he positive? Does he have a good mindset? Is he willing to persevere? Things like that. Like, that matters to me. Number 8. So obviously this is feminine, but in my mind it would be masculine, classy attitude, his overall. Again, for me, I felt like 7 and 8, once you switch it to the male side of it, they fed into one another. So I was fine putting 7 and then 8. Then number 4. Fourth up on the list are his looks, how he is in shape and stuff like that. Then number 1, his career. I do care about a man's career, and I feel like that's different for a woman, because for me, I care about his career not because I really care about how much money he makes, even though that is not the last thing on my list, but I just need to know that he is stable enough to care for his family.
So if he was a garbage man, he took pride in what he did, and the income level was enough to sustain a family.
First of all, do you know how much money garbage men make?
Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I know how much sanitary workers make.
They make more than teachers.
They do all right. They do all right. It is grueling work, but sanitation workers do really good, in my opinion.
Yes.
My opinion.
So for me, again, why his career matters to me isn't so much the amount of money that he makes, but the pride that he has in his job, the fact that he has a job. Because I am from Baltimore, and I know some people who, make a living, we gonna call it gig economy, but not the gig that everyone else is thinking about.
There's a term for it. Hobosexual.
No.
Oh, not that?
Not that one. But I'm saying, like, their gig may be a little less on the legal side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. So, no, I do care about your career. Like, I do, because I'm a teacher. Like, I need you to have a professional job. Like, we need to be able to pair well together. So, for me, career matters. And then after career, education level. And that's not because I'm out here condemning people. Like, I've dated people who, in my 30s, only had a high school diploma. I'm not knocking you. It's not that I care. For me, I look at education level and I'm like, can you be taught? Because I see someone with master's degrees and I'm not like, oh, he has a master's. But no, in my head, I'm like, no, you can be taught high level things. Like, that's how I see it. You can be taught. You have learned. You have acquired these skills. So that matters to me. And then 2, how much money he makes. 5, his homemaking skills. And literally 5 and 9 are at the bottom for me, because as a woman, they don't necessarily, like, the guy that I'm with, he's supposed to be the guy providing for the home. So his homemaking skills, for me, I felt like that fed into his financial ability to take care of the home. Like, that's the home that you're making.
Okay. I gotta tell you, I am surprised by your last one.
You got jokes.
I'm just saying, I'm surprised. All I'm saying,
you got jokes. You got all the way jokes.
Is that I'm surprised
all the way
by
jokes.
It. But
I love you.
I'm glad that we went through this exercise.
Yeah.
I think this is something that is important. We harp on communication. Mm-hmm. Some people say that they're excellent communicators because they talk a lot. No.
Nope.
What's the quality of what you're communicating out there? How are you able to state what you are saying to someone and not interpret it for them, but say it in a way that they're going to understand it? I'm using the Obama hand as I do this right now.
Well, y'all got the same birthday, so you just tapping into him. That's all. That's all.
All right. So while we get set up here, I don't think we should do Let's Get Deep, but
No,
I need to text my pops real quick to let him know, since he's not watching live, that we're live right now, because he asked if we made it home safe.
We live
from
Mr. Larry. We
Canada's.
live.
All right. So get us set up real quick, baby. Like, give us a intro.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm a little special.
You got this. You got this.
So this week, starting Sunday up until literally a couple of hours ago, we ventured up northwest of where we live in Maryland.
Oh.
Yes. Okay.
Let me take this out.
Thank you. That was part of what was throwing me because, Okay. So we ventured up northwest and we went to northwestern New York and we crossed over into Ontario, Canada. And this was something King and I had talked about going to Niagara Falls next month during a long weekend that we had for the MLK holiday. But we switched it up and we decided to go during Christmas break, specifically because he would have his daughter during this time. And the two of them have been to Niagara Falls, but they haven't been over to Canada. So we were going to do all of that and, have all this good time. 6 days of the three of us being together. Now, King and I, we're still, according to his definition of the honeymoon phase, we're still in the honeymoon phase because we haven't crossed over into 18 months yet, okay. But we're still, by his definitions, we're still in the honeymoon phase. So we going on the 6-day trip. Now, mind you, I have taken so many trips with King. Castle and I did the math. This was our 4th trip together. As the three of us, we have traveled never for 6 days. Okay. So they say that you should see your partner in different phases of life. I say you should see your partner by traveling with them for 6 days. You've been to learn some things.
Oh yes.
Okay. King has gone on trips with me for, I think, probably 3 days may have been like the longest that we've ever been together. So he's never seen what it's like to be with me for that long. And I have OCD. And for any of you all who are trying to get the idea of where my level of OCD is, and this isn't just me self-diagnosing because I do self-diagnose things. This is me saying it was clinically diagnosed. I do have obsessive compulsive disorder. If you've ever seen the show Monk.
Accurate representation.
Tis
just
me.
Below.
Like Monk is here.
Yeah.
And I'm right about there. There is a little bit of differences, but not that many. But no, so I'm not saying that I'm the easiest to travel with because I like things to be in a certain order. You're talking to someone who worked in a hair salon but hates to see hair on the floor. You're talking to someone who has literally worked with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, helping them literally complete their activities of daily living, but yet I can't stand to see certain things in certain places, fill in the gaps, y'all. This is me. There's some things that I could do for a paycheck, but then in the personal level, I'm like, no. Something else about me, I shower every night before I go to sleep because I have to wash the germs of the day off before I go to sleep, even though the next morning I'm still going to get up, wash my face, and do a light wash up. This is me. King knew this. Castle had seen it, but seeing it for 6 consecutive days is something totally different.
And let me raise my hand. That's not something that is a thing for me. Meaning, if I want to hop into the hotel bed just to lay down for a second before getting into the shower and winding it, down for my day, I'm all about that life. But Michelle is nope. So I even had the joke that if her and I are just going on a trip minus Castle, we still getting 2 queens instead of 1 king. So one bed is going to be the sanitary bed that I can just hop on and off at my willy-nilly. And the other bed is going to be, you got to take a shower before you get in this bed and wash the outside off. And she's consistent about that. She will not get in a bed without washing the outside off. That is her thing.
That is my thing.
And she mentioned that early on into us getting to date and things like that. And I thought, all right, well, no. So when somebody's telling you something, believe it at the most basic level of what they're saying, because it can be true. And let me tell you, at first I was kind of like, well, that's really out there. But what I've learned about Michelle, and something that I told her allows me to have a little bit of grace on, is that she does things for a reason.
Everything.
And that reason is typically for the greater good of everybody, not just her, for the greater good of everybody. So for as much as she washes, like, I'm somebody that, like, I ain't gonna say enjoys washing my hands. I am at the basic level. If I use the restroom, I'm washing my hands. If I'm about to have food or something, I'm washing my hands. If I have been outside or whatnot, I'll try. I ain't gonna say I'm 100% about it. This person is 100%.
Look, y'all.
If she rakes the air like this while she's outside, she gonna hand sanitize herself.
We finna get some
when she
hand
comes
sandy
back
up here. Oh my gosh. Castle was getting back in the car from wherever y'all went for a restroom break. Castle got back in the car and I handed her some hand sanitizer. She was like, I just washed my hands. I was like, I know.
which is funny, because earlier in you and me getting to know each other, I would have done the same thing. I'd be like, I washed my hands before I came out.
I know.
But if you notice, even though I knew that, I'm like, but this is Michelle. So I just got in and I just immediately did like this. And like I said, I'm okay with that. But look, you have a spirit animal.
I'm telling you.
Todd said, oh no street clothes on the hotel bed, King. Especially after being out in the world laughing my butt off.
Look. You done been around everything. Okay. 100.
Hey, that's my pops.
See,
Shout
yeah,
out
hey,
to
this
pops.
Larry.
So we are home. He texted me and asked if we made it. Yep, we made it, pops. I'm glad you were able to tune in.
But no, like so I told Castle the story of how I got to that point. It wasn't always like that. Like, I definitely was a wake up, take a shower in the morning type person. But I had a really bad allergic reaction in 2014, and I made up my mind then. Nope. Can't do this. I have to wash everything off. So that includes, even if I'm not immediately going to sleep, I'll take that shower and I'll wash my face so that I can get all the germs and stuff of the day off of my face, and then just go chill and relax in the bed, and then maybe eat or something, and then come back a couple hours later and brush my teeth. But no, like, I have to, you got to get all that off of you because it's nasty. We were around a lot of people.
Yes, which we are going to talk about. There was an crazy amount of people while we were out.
Oh my gosh. All right, so let's get into this. The good, the bad, and the expensive of Ontario, Canada. Okay?
All right, so let's start with where we stayed.
Okay.
We stayed at a Marriott on the New York side of Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was looking at where to stay, I had been there in the past, and we originally stayed at this Sheraton. I would have liked to have gone back there, but for our trip duration, they didn't have the availability. Michelle has this thing, and it's funny when I think about it, because if I'm traveling by myself, I don't care where I stay. I just need a bed. But she has this no outside door to your room policy.
AKA no motels, okay?
Yes, no motels.
Or no Red Roof Inn. Because even though Red Roof Inn is a beautiful hotel, they got outside doors. I don't do outside doors. You know why? Because when y'all are bringing in the linen, it has to cross outside. No, thank you. No, thank you.
So if I'm traveling with, how do I say this? People that I care about, meaning Castle, Michelle, I'm staying at a nice place, 3-star or higher.
Yes.
If it's just me, look, I can defend myself. I don't need much. I'm just going to stay where it's cheap and there's a bed. And ain't no bed bugs.
Oh, God.
All right. Now, so we stayed at this Marriott. It was fantastic. Props to the front desk people, all of that jazz. Whitney said, OMG, Michelle and I are the same
We
person.
are the same person, Whitney. Like, we both teach the same thing. Me, you, and Todd, like, we're the same person. Go ahead.
So, the good. the good is we did run across several people, starting with the hotel. Our check-in experience was fantastic. I wish I would have got that young lady's name.
Oh,
She was
nice
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
She was awesome. And the good in the hotel stay was fantastic. If you get the opportunity to go to Niagara Falls, the immediate area, like the Falls Park area, gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous.
The city?
What city? See, I think that's where we disagree.
Okay.
And it's funny because when we stopped in 7-Eleven this morning, there were two locals who were having a conversation. Like, one was clearly a sanitation worker, and the other was just a local resident. And they were talking to the 7-Eleven employee about how Niagara Falls shouldn't be classified as a city. It should be classified as a town. And then they started talking about financials. And the reason why I say clearly a sanitation worker isn't because of how he was dressed. It's because their initial conversation was about sanitation and trash bins and all that stuff. But they're having this conversation, and I'm learning a lot. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, Niagara Falls is classified as a city. Why? I don't know. The only people I saw in Niagara Falls were the people who were employed at the stores that we went to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. Everyone else was like in a hotel. We drove by houses. I didn't see cars. Now, yes, there were like Christmas decorations on some of those houses, but I didn't see cars. I legitimately didn't see people who lived in the town other than people that we saw working at the stores and the occasional dishoused person. Like, that's all that I saw. But no, I'm going to be really honest. It seemed pointless. It seemed like the Niagara Falls, New York, honestly seemed like the redheaded stepchild of Niagara Falls, Canada. Like, it seemed like that's just where you go stay when you don't want to pay the Niagara Falls, Canada prices to see Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Because you can see the falls. In all fairness, you can get an amazing falls experience on both sides, both the U.S. side and the Canadian side. You can get a great experience. There are some things that are going to be better on the New York side. There are some things that are going to be better on the Canada side. But when it comes to room and board, it's cheaper on the New York side.
Mm-hmm.
Flat out.
So that's the good. Also, in the good, the places that we went to, right? So Clifton Hills and Niagara Falls, Canada side. While touristy, it was beautiful. It was well maintained, in my opinion. There were a lot to do for all walks of life, all types of people. The scenery was fantastic. And to lump into the good as well, going into Toronto. Toronto as a city I thought was cool. It had its different parts. We ate at this spot called Yummy Korean something another. Recommended. We put it in one of our videos.
Yes.
Highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back to Toronto, we eat there.
Yes.
When we go back to Toronto, that is where we're going to eat at again. Definitely recommended. Do you have anything else to add to the good?
I will say the good. This is something I definitely saw in Canada. So specifically in the Niagara Falls part of Canada, there may have been lines because, again, we were there during a holiday weekend. So on the one hand, we were there off season because this is their off season time, but they got a holiday rush because of Christmas and everything like that. So everything that we did in Niagara Falls, Canada, because although we were in Ontario, Canada, we were specifically in Niagara Falls, Canada on Christmas Eve night for dinner and all day Christmas. Lines moved like this.
They did.
Okay? Like, it's like you would see a line for a second and then bam, it would be gone. There were a lot of people, but no one was just like idling, or everyone was just kind of like hustle and bustle. And I'm a city gal at heart, so I loved it. I love the fact that things flowed, that I didn't feel like I was waiting an excessively long time for anything. I'm grateful of that. I don't really think I saw any excessive lines the entire time that we were there.
I agree.
So that's a good for me. I'm impatient, so good.
No doubt. And I already said that there is like a lot to do.
Yeah. There is a lot to do. So The good, we went to Skyline Tower and we went all the way up. I don't remember the exact feet. Actually, I'm sorry, meters. I don't remember the exact meters.
They go by meters over there in Canada.
Yeah. Is that a bad, like, make sure you know your conversion system, because miles per hour aren't a thing. It's kilometers per hour. Make sure you know how far a meter is, because they don't say feet. Everything is meters. And also there is the fact that you're in Canada. So hello, different currency, which works out in our favor because the US dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar. So $1 US is the equivalent of $1 and some change Canadian dollar. So our money is stronger. So our dollar goes farther in Canada than a Canadian dollar goes in the US.
Thank goodness it did, because we're going to get into prices later.
We finna get into it. But yeah, Skyline Tower was beautiful. It was a beautiful sight to behold. And then you and I went on the Ferris wheel, because that's something that we're setting, that we're going to go on a Ferris wheel every time we go into a city. So that was really, really nice. That was a good experience. And you look so handsome up there.
Oh, and everything's like walkability, like the walking distance there.
In Niagara Falls.
In Niagara Falls.
You can walk to pretty much everything and do everything there. Okay.
And I'm going to throw this as a good.
All right.
If you a weed head, look, I was surprised. I don't know when the weed laws changed in Canada and New York, but you couldn't walk a block. There was a Subway and a weed spot in the same building, like signs on top of each other.
Put it this way, okay, y'all. I am 37. Lord willing, September I will turn 38. And on the Canadian side alone, I saw more than 37 dispensaries. First day.
Just not kidding. And like within like a small square mile radius.
There was a Tim Hortons on every corner, and then there was a dispensary. It reminded me of Baltimore in the sense that in Baltimore there's a liquor store and a church on every corner. In Canada, there's a weed dispensary, and there is a Tom Hortons on every single corner. And if you don't know what Tom Hortons is, it is literally the Canadian equivalent of Dunkin' Donuts, because it's with that frequency. Not the frequency of Starbucks, literally the frequency of Dunkin' Donuts, because in New England, Dunkin' Donuts is everywhere. Just like over in Canada, Tim Hortons is everywhere.
So if Mary Jane is your jam, that area is, you can't spit without hitting a dispensary.
Oh my gosh, every 2 seconds. Sincerely. And it's funny because every time we crossed the border, and we crossed over into Canada a total of 4 times on our 6-day trip. We crossed over 4 times, and each time they asked us about weed. And Castle got to the point where she was like, y'all got, obviously she didn't say this to them, but it's like, y'all got weed dispensaries on every single corner. Why are you asking me if I got weed? I don't need to bring it. I just got to walk 2 minutes across the line. If I want it, it's right there.
So I'm glad you got there, because that's going to lead my bad.
Ooh.
Look,
all right, go to the bad.
Customs Border Patrol agents are important people.
Oh,
They are. They are.
Okay.
In my 2 cents, as a U.S. citizen coming from Canada back into the U.S., the Customs Border Patrol agents were professional and respectful, in my opinion.
Because they were like, welcome home. Welcome home, King. Like, this is your country. Your country welcomes you.
But going into Canada, I think every time but one, it felt like a straight up interrogation, to which even Castle said something to where she was like, man, I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety or anxiousness by the interrogation field, which I'm going to have to look up their job description. It could be that their job is to suss out, they're like the first line of defense for people coming into their country. I get it. I was in military aviation, and in my many travels, we had to talk to and be handled by Customs Border Patrol agents, right? They have a very important job.
Yeah, they do.
Yet, man, I don't know, read the room. There was one particular instance that rubbed me the wrong way. I have a speech impediment. I stutter. Most people are like, dude, I never hear it. But I do. And there's certain ways that my stutter presents itself. In this instance, he was asking questions, and he asked me what I did for a living, or if I was employed, or where do I work?
Yeah. He asked
And
you, where
I
do you work?
said, I work for the government. And then he said, what do you do? Now, in the way that my stutter presents itself sometimes, it can seem as though I'm unsure about what I'm saying. I get that often. It's one of the reasons why I changed my name, actually, because A's are one of my struggle letters. I ain't going to talk about stuttering, but it's a whole thing. So I told him I'm an IT specialist. I didn't say it like that, though. And he goes, are you sure that that's what you do? Or are you sure you're an IT specialist? And I'm like, I don't know how to respond back to this. So I'm just like, I'm sure I work IT.
So I want to comment from someone who knows you and loves you, and then also
Go
someone
ahead.
who was there witnessing it. The guy, in all fairness, all of the 4 border patrol agents that we ran into asked a lot of questions
And
and
they were
crossed it
different.
into Canada. They were 4 different people, and we probably went through the same lane each time, but they were 4 different people. Each one was different. That first night that we went in, it was Christmas Eve, and the lady was like, so where y'all going? And like, I'm trying to be nice and like have a conversation with her too. And I was like, oh, we're going to XYZ restaurant. Have you ever been there before? She said, yes, I have, but only for lunch, never for dinner. Sidebar, sis, you could have told us that they were closed, because we ended up going to that particular restaurant and they were
closed.
I guess that's why she's never been there for dinner. But anyway, so, she was nice, whatever. Second person, not memorable, so it must have been okay.
Same.
The third person, also not memorable. Every set of questions that they asked us were different, but essentially they wanted to know the same core things. What's your citizenship? Why are you coming into Canada? How long are you coming into Canada? Do you have any drugs, alcohol, or weapons on you? Those are the 4 main things that they're going to ask you when you're crossing over from the U.S. into Canada. We threw it up by the second one, and we asked about stamps because, fun fact, when you're crossing from the U.S. into Canada, they don't stamp your passport.
At least not at that location. I don't know if that's a going into Canada thing altogether.
But in hindsight, I think when I went into Windsor, they didn't stamp my passport either. So they don't stamp your passport coming from the U.S. into Canada. And Castle had a new passport. We all had new passports, and we were all waiting to get that
Like,
good old
yeah,
Canadian
got this
stamp.
stamp. Nope.
No stamp. So by this fourth guy from yesterday, he was asking a lot more questions. And this isn't in defense of him, by no means necessary. But prior to us getting to that checkpoint, you had asked Castle a question about fluency, and it just so happened that you were in the midst of a bad fluency day.
Yes.
With your stuttering.
Yes.
And I think from the first moment you answered his question, I think that fluency disconnect was there. And it's not that, I don't think that he may have been intentionally rude. I think for him, that's kind of like a red flag, especially considering the article that you just read to me. I think he saw that as a red flag and was like, wait a minute, let me keep pressing. He was kind of a jerk. Don't get me wrong. He was kind of a jerk.
And he had this smug look on his face.
He did.
Hey, look, Canadian Border Patrol agent, I'm challenging you to a duel. Nah.
On the U.S. side.
If you see, yeah.
Come over here.
Yeah, come over here. We'll arrange this in New York. We'll get it licensed and sanctioned. Hey, he might be a professional it don't matter.
People think you a wrestler, bro.
It don't matter. He just had this smug look on his face.
He did.
But you are right. And it's one of the reasons why when I meet people, I lead with the fact that I have a speech impediment. Sometimes early on, it's, hey, while we're talking, if it's looking like it's going to be a long conversation, or if I know, I can tell that question that I asked Castle, it was because I knew that day. I can tell when I have the blocks that's going to have me have an harder than normal speech throughout that day. I just know it. So I was curious if it was the same for her. When you've been in speech therapy like I have, and you've been a part of like a National Stutterers Association and stuff, we talk about these different techniques and things and how you're just aware of how your fluency is going to be that day. So you're right. I believe him, the way that my fluency was, probably upped a red flag for him, and it caused him to prep. And I know that, so it didn't bother me that it happened. I'm like, you know what? I understand how this looks, so it is what it is. That's why I'm at with it.
For me, I looked at it and I was just like, I could tell that the Border Patrol agent, was getting a little bit frustrated and a little bit more rude, because he even turned to me. After the first day, I stopped talking to Border Patrol. It was like, King's the driver. This is on him. Let him handle this, because that's a conversation that you and I had before, that if we're ever talking to law enforcement, whoever the driver is, that's who needs to have the conversation with law enforcement. I wasn't the driver. I was sitting in the passenger seat, so I'm just like, okay, let me scroll, let me do whatever, because this is a conversation between you and that agent. But that particular guy, when he didn't like the answer that he got from you, that is when he turned to me and he was like, and what do you do for a living? And I was like, I'm a teacher, and just kind of left it at that. So he was...
I was 2 seconds from saying, and she's a student.
but you're just like, he ain't gonna catch it. But no, so that guy was he was a little bit more rude than necessary. But I just want to do a quick plug really quickly to let people know that when you hear someone, if someone says that they have a stutter, that doesn't always mean that they say the same word multiple times, or that they're attempting to say a word and they stutter they break up in saying that word. That's not the only definition of a stutter. There are multiple levels to stuttering. My best friend is a speech pathologist. King does have a speech impediment. There are levels to it. So when you hear King say he has a stutter, that doesn't mean that he says a word multiple times, or that he'll start a word and kind of like hesitate through the word. That's not what it presents for him. It presents differently for him. And that's one thing to know about pretty much all conditions and diseases, that just because you've seen one person with it doesn't mean that every other person that you see with it is going to look exactly like that or behave exactly like that.
And see, I'm glad that you know that, because, again, we're a newish couple, and kind of early on, like, my stutter was something that it never bothered me. But like I said, I would lead with it. And then it's kind of up to you on how you are okay with being with somebody that stutters. And I was never with anybody who saw it as an issue or a problem, but I do know that there are relationships in which the non-stuttering person would be not unintentionally disrespectful to the stutterer, and that can cause a rift in a relationship and things like that.
Small plug really quickly.
Ooh.
That's how I knew what stuttering looked like for you, because one time early in, like I think in our friendship before we even started dating, you were saying something, and Michelle, city speech and everything, I'm expecting you to say something, and I jumped in to finish or to fill in the blank thinking that you didn't know, but then you told me that you knew, but that's what your stuttering looked like to you.
Yep,
that there's a delay sometimes in saying something.
Yep, I have blocks, so I know what I want to say. The word just doesn't come out, and certain letters or vowels are harder to say, or those blocks it makes it harder to say those words. A's were one of those, which is why I changed my name from Aaron to King. It's Aaron. 2 A's make the long A sound Aaron.
This is where we don't necessarily see eye to eye on that part. Okay, so the bad.
I think we're
Border Patrol agents.
After the Border Patrol agents, going into Canada, like I said, US side
were so nice. They smiled.
The bad that I would lead with would be just the crowdedness and lack of spatial awareness that other cultures of people seem to have. Now, again, I've been around the world.
Seen many things.
I'm just going to say it.
Say it.
Flame me how you may.
Oh my gosh. Please modify. We just like lately don't get us canceled before we even get started.
Okay. I've been to Japan. Let me just say
here we
this.
go.
Well, I mean, certain cultures just don't seem to give two craps about personal boundary space, and they will walk right in front of you, bump you, get to a point that you're getting to as well, and just not care. No excuse me's, no nothing. All right? And it can be daunting if you experience that over here with a lot of said culture. I'll say it like that.
I cannot, y'all.
How would you word it?
Put it this way, right? I'm from Baltimore. I'm from the city. Even prior to COVID, I have OCD. I like people to give me my space, and there are certain cultures that don't know how to do that. Someone commented on one of our videos and asked if Canadian people were really, really nice. And for the most part, they were. They were really, really nice. And when I say Canadians, I mean employees of stores, because that was the only way that, based on where we were in a high touristy area. So the only way that we could definitively tell that someone was Canadian is if they were an employee of a store. Everyone else that we saw, I'm assuming, was a tourist. There were certain groups of people who did not understand personal boundaries, personal space, would stop in the middle of walking, cut you off, and then look at you like you wrong. Stop in the middle of walking, and then when I had to put on my Baltimore accent and be like, excuse me, like, turned and looked at me like, oh, what's going on? Didn't back up, didn't give you any space to be able to breathe, move about, or do anything of the kind. And I'm just like, I don't like this. You're really too close to me. Like, really, really too close to me. Like, COVID aside, y'all are just really too close to me right now. And I need you to give me space. I need you to be aware of the fact that you are not the only person on this sidewalk.
Yes, people were walking around like they owned the sidewalk, like they owned the space. And I'm just like, I'm a 275-pound mass of a dude.
From this, though.
If I bump into you, which
it's
if you
solid.
notice,
He's
like,
solid.
like I'm solid. Like, if I bump into you, chances are you're going to fall, not me. I get frustrated when you walk as though I need to move. And I'm just sitting here like, you know, if I go this way, I am going through you, right? And it drives me nuts sometimes when I'll do the kind of like the courtesy kind of thing like this, and the other person is still straight with their shoulders and not doing the thing themselves too.
First of all, that courtesy pass, when it's two people walking, courtesy says one person falls behind the other person or one person goes in front of the other person. If you ain't about to do that, let me tell you how I ain't about to say excuse me when I bump into you.
Yep, same here.
I'm just going to be full.
I did it once, and then I got mad that I did it to where I said excuse me, even though the other person was wrong in that instance.
I'm like, T, God ain't through with me yet. If I'm doing that courtesy pass with someone and you're not doing that courtesy pass, I don't feel bad if I bump into you. And it's because the sidewalk is shared. Now, please understand, this isn't, silly Americans saying this, because we're not talking about Canadians. We are not talking about Canadian people here. We're not. We're talking about other tourists visiting from other countries, and they very well could have been visiting from the U.S. We're saying that it was a certain ethnicity that this is the issue that we kept running into. That's what we're saying. We're not even talking about your nationality. We're talking about ethnicity at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems to be prevalent. So that was frustrating.
Yes.
That definitely was. That definitely was. Again, tourist season. This isn't the peak of their tourist season right now in Canada or at Niagara Falls, specifically Ontario. It wasn't the peak of their busy season, but there were still a lot of people visiting. You could tell it was a high amount of tourism happening, even especially on Christmas Day, because of the 6 days that we were there. Christmas Day had the best weather. That was the only day that it was extremely sunny. And even though it was chilly, it wasn't freezing cold. It rained Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, with the most amount of rain being on Wednesday. Tuesday and Thursday, it was extremely foggy. The sun rises every day, but it was hidden behind clouds. Friday, the sun was kind of intermittently out, but Monday was the best weather day. So that was the day that we decided to branch all over Niagara Falls. And there were a lot of people out. Again, Canadians, super duper nice. We never had any issues with Canadians.
Nope.
Never, never, never. I will say, and I don't say that this is a good, bad, or anything else, but we didn't see a lot of Black people in general.
In general, yeah, it was rare. Those that we did see looked like Black Canadian, like Black, like a French.
Yeah,
either
Black Canadians, Black French, or maybe even Black but from another country, totally not affiliated with North America, like a different continent, not affiliated with North America. But we did not see a lot of Black people in general. Like, I can recall in my mind everywhere where we saw Black people.
Same.
And it was not a lot. And I remember, like, even when we were yesterday, I remember we were walking past a Black woman and a child, and because of where she saw it, she was like, "Oh, the end." And I was like, "Oh no, there's more." And she had an accent. So it was not a lot of Black Americans. So that was something that was amazing to me, because I look at it and I'm just like, I wonder if it's because of the water, if it's because it's Canada. Like, why is it that we didn't see a lot of Black Americans? Just curious.
Same. I really don't have what I could posit to be the reason, but I am just curious overall. Like, I could say maybe, no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not trying to get us canceled.
Nope.
See, because I used to do comedy, my mind thinks a certain way, and I'm trying not to get us canceled. All right. Another thing that I'll throw in the bad category, it kind of goes with the good. Look, the Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto, absolutely fantastic place. If not for the raging craziness of kids that were there. Look, Ripley's Canada. I'm going to leave this as a review on here and on y'all's website and every other place that I can do it. If you get a chance to go when it's like in school or something.
When schools are in session.
Because let me tell y'all, the aquarium was gorgeous. The amount of kids that was in that place and just how packed it was in general made it unbearable almost.
Not almost, it was.
So, well, for y'all, I'd say for me, it didn't hit my unbearable level. But I could tell the moment I saw Castle and I saw you that this was going to be a problem. So, they do timed ticketed entrances, right? And that's supposed to be able to allow the flow and things to where it's not over capacity. I'm pretty sure that they sold tickets over capacity that day. And it was almost like every parent who had 5 or more kids decided to show up on that day
on that
too.
One particular day.
Because, man, you couldn't really see anything. And there's kids running around everywhere. The only control point was that under the water tunnel area where it said if you had a stroller, you had to be on that, which was freaking great because it allowed us non-stroller people to walk the walking path. But about halfway through, I don't know if you saw that one family that they're like, we're just going to get off of this and just, do it. And then I'm looking at other people, look at them like they want to say something to them. And I'm just kind of like, that was the most serene part of it because it was some level of order going through. So it allowed us to be able to see the different fishes and sharks and things like that. And it was amazing when there was some level of order. But then before that and after that, chaos the entire time.
Cringe. So the reason why we went to this aquarium, because apparently there was an aquarium over on the American side of Niagara Falls. But the reason why we opted for this aquarium was because it boasted having the longest underwater tunnel in an aquarium in all of North America. And you know me, I'm fitting to go set a record. Like, I love Ripley. On Monday, we had gone to the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, and it wasn't crowded at all, probably because it was Christmas. But yesterday when we went to the aquarium, it was super crowded, and it took away, like, Castle already had her headphones on, and there were so many people. And again, so I have OCD. I also do suffer from anxiety issues and things of that sort. And I also have PTSD. I have alphabet soup going on over here.
You got all the letters.
All the letters.
Are you
A, B,
missing
C.
I know Z's a hard one to get in there. You got xenophobia or something?
No,
Wait,
no,
xenophobia don't probably
That's
don't even have
bad.
a
That's
Z
a
in
bad thing.
Plus, it probably don't even have a Z in
It doesn't, but that's also a bad thing. That's
Okay.
not a
I
good
don't
thing.
even know what it means. I've heard of it.
We'll talk about it later. We'll
Okay.
talk about it later.
right.
We'll talk about it later. But no, so it was overwhelming for me to have all of those people. Like, I found myself going over to walls and just standing there. And then there was one point and I was like, okay, Jesus, it's about to be me and you up in this piece. So I pulled out my headphones and I put them in. I turned the volume all the way up and I started listening to some worship music because I was like, this is the only way I'm going to get through it. I love going to zoos. I love going to aquariums. I love being in those settings, but that was overwhelming for me. It was way too many people. And I don't know if that's something that we caught them on a bad day or what. But if you're going to have timed admission, it's supposed to help with crowd control. That was no way, shape, or form helping with crowd control. And then furthermore, like, I understand that parents with kids need strollers, but their areas aside from that underground tunnel, everything was very, like, circular in general. Just like the overall layout of the aquarium, everything was circular except for that underground tunnel, which was more of a windy path. And with everything being circular, you have 10 or 20 people with the stroller and it's going to be too much. You add in 10 to 20 people with strollers, plus everybody having like 3-4 little pitney just running around, like, it's going to be overwhelming. He's laughing because there's like one word in patois that I know, and that's pitney, and he loves that word. It means children, child or children. So that was overwhelming. And I feel like I don't know how much King paid for those tickets.
Oh, it was expensive, which we gonna get into in the
expensive part. I don't know how much King paid for it, but I felt bad because I couldn't even really like stand to enjoy it because it was too overwhelming for my senses. I have not been diagnosed with autism. I just have PTSD, OCD, anxiety disorder, and some other things. But I don't have autism. I recognize, like, someone like my niece. My niece has autism. And someone like that, like, I can only imagine what that could be like for children with sensory disorders and sensory conditions, because that was just overwhelming to have all those people there.
So don't worry about feeling bad and everything. I completely, when I got there and I saw that, I was kind of like, this experience is not going to be what we thought it was going to be because of how crowded and the amount of kids that were just unruly. And you started the day by being excited about going to the aquarium. But once I saw that, I'm like, I don't care about whatever. If we could have gotten a refund, I might have done it, But it would have, to me, it was like, okay, we're here. This is how it is. When you said at one point while we were in there, you said, hey, you take care of Castle. I'll just catch up with y'all. I understood that completely.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like I'm going to walk with her, try to help her get the best experience she can for what we have. For how chaotic this is, we're going to look at just trying to get the best experience possible. Michelle's going to do the same thing to where you can worry about you, and I know that you're grown, you can take care of yourself, that I'm like, hey, she said that, we can do this, and that is probably going to be the best thing to get us through this.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad that the money was spent and we didn't have a great time that we would like to have had, because I believe that we can have a good time there. Again, the aquarium itself was fantastic.
Yeah.
The way it was ran and conducted with the amount of people that were there, not the business. Do we have anything else for the bad? I don't think, Besides, because the expensive is going to get into its own category. The roads weren't as maintained as I thought it should be.
Yeah, you know, people be coming. Let me put this in my best professional voice. People often say that the streets in the U.S. are poorly developed and represent an impoverished nation. However, I differ in opinion by saying that it's not just the United States. It's actually a lot of countries and a lot of different places. So often, all we see are the beautiful images that are taken in high tourist areas and that are captured lovingly with heavy filters on social media apps, that we forget about the rundown streets that exist in many cities, including a city near you. Y'all, them streets were trash, okay? Like, don't come to me saying, oh my gosh, America, you're so dirty. You have little rats crawling in the street. Okay, granted, I ain't see a rat the whole time that we were there. But there were potholes upon potholes in them streets. Like, it's like all the money went to the weed dispensaries, but nothing went at all to their roads. Like, their infrastructure wasn't all that great. So please don't come to me talking about America look like trash. Nah, boo, we just tend to show you on the news the more impoverished places than y'all show us on the news of your impoverished places, because it wasn't all that.
Yes, and look, Ontario, I'm not talking trash about you. I plan on coming back to visit.
Yes, please, let us in.
But it was clear even in the non-tourist areas, I mean, there was like trash and boarded up places and things like that. A lot more than I thought. Now, as we got into other, I don't know if they're called provinces, like St. Catharines. We went to St. Catharines. We drove through the downtown of St. Catharines. I think there were more boarded up and closed businesses than there were open businesses.
But you know what was open?
Let me tell y'all, the dispensaries,
the weed dispensaries, they was open.
They were open.
Yes.
They were absolutely open. And then you might have a couple of food places. And I saw, too, there were different, like, record places that were also open, too. And I'm like, how are the record places open?
It makes sense.
Yet
because
these other businesses aren't.
Think about it, King.
Ooh.
You go to the dispensary,
okay.
You get high. You need music to listen to as you're getting high.
Okay.
And then after that, you get the munchies, so the food places. So bam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's how all three of those businesses are still in.
Hey, that must be how these places are getting taxes from their local economy then.
Look, I'm telling you. I'm trying to tell you.
Now, before we get into the expensive, let's give a couple of shout-outs.
Shout out.
I'm going to start out with shout-out to the guy at the Skyline Tower.
Oh, yes! The one we went back in the evening?
Yes.
Yo,
yes.
He was live. He was straight fire.
Did we get him on video?
No, we didn't get him on video.
Oh,
but yo, I'm telling you, because the elevator ride up to the top of Skyline Tower was so brief, and he just was in there. Like, when we came, so we bought tickets to go to Skyline Tower twice. Once in the day, and then once again at night, just so that we could see the difference, right? We had two different elevator operators. This elevator operator, y'all, let me tell you,
he was dope.
He was dope. Like, he was fresh to death, okay? He was like...
He will remind you of Will Smith from The Fresh Prince, in my opinion. Like, the newer show.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was a people person. It seemed like everybody was dapping him.
He was like, okay, I see what you got. Well, I see you with the boots. Like, he had Crystal laughing. And I appreciated it because Castle did get a little bit anxious the first time we went up, because Skyline Tower is kind of shaped like a mushroom. So the stem is kind of narrow and then it balloons up at the top. And when we got up to the top, she felt a little bit anxious because she knew that in the particular place where we were standing, there was nothing underneath. But because of that elevator operator, he made that second time up. Like, Castle wasn't even focused on that. She was cold, but that was a whole nother situation. But she wasn't thinking about the fact that there was nothing immediately underneath of her. And I think that 100% had to do with the elevator operator.
All right. So who would you give a shout out to?
Who would I give a shout out to? I would give a shout out to all of the... Wait a minute.
Because there's a few. I actually had a couple of more people.
Go. You go give one and I'll give one.
Shout out to the lady at the Chocolate Factory Experience. this lady, apparently she had just gotten over something, and it was her first day back. But there's this place called CFX, Chocolate Factory Experience.
Yep.
That was in St. Catharines, was it? Or was it in
It was like on the way to St. Catharines.
So it's not that far into Canada if you're going over from the Rainbow Bridge, but it's definitely a place that you would want to stop at. They would do a tour of the factory if there were more people there, but she said that she was the only one working, so was unable to give a tour that day. But we were able to get free samples of the various chocolates that they have, and that lady's presentation, and you can tell like she's like the mom of everybody, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So shout out to her. Have you thought of anybody else?
Go again.
The front desk at the hotel that we stayed at, both ladies, the darker skinned lady and the lady that was there for our checkout, they were fabulous, fantastic, offered up some places that vegans could eat at because, you know, her dietary restrictions are a lot more restrictive than mine are. So that's a fact.
It may be a fact.
So the fact that I was able to ask her, because yes, you can go to Google, but then it's like, okay, but what is like the boots on the ground? Like, what are they saying? Like, what are the people that are really familiar with the area? What can they tell you live and in person? So shout out to the front desk at the Marriott Niagara Falls.
All right, so I'm going to give a shout out to particular places of business. So I want to shout out Boston Pizza over in Clifton Hill, right over in Canada. I'm shouting them out because they had, on Christmas Day, mind you, we were there. First of all, they were open and their staff were very pleasant. They weren't trying to rush us or anything like that or make an obscene amount of money off of us, but they were extremely pleasant to us on Christmas Day. So that was greatly appreciated. But they had all the sports on. So King, in my opinion, strategically took his place at the table so that he could watch basketball on one TV and football on another. And I feel like that's something that, and again, so we were in Canada and they were showing US sports. So I feel like that's very welcoming and I appreciated that. Someone else I would give a shout out to, just overall, and to me this kind of straddles the good and the bad. I appreciated that once we started really approaching Canada, but we were still in the US, so like we were still in like Buffalo and places like that, we saw the Canadian flag being displayed everywhere. And for me, that seemed like, hey, we have a good relationship with Canada. I'm not going to lie. A part of me was like, I wish that it was reciprocated down south at our southern borders, that we had the same amount of love for Mexico as at the southern border as we do for Canada at the northern border, but that's neither here nor there. So shout out to those businesses for doing that. Let's see. Oh, the guy at the Ferris wheel. He was
yes.
So nice.
I don't want to forget him. Yes, the guy
so
at
nice.
the Sky Wheel or whatever it's called, he was just overly joyful. And we commented on it. I was like, you know, like, I've been in certain types of jobs my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that my customer service on the outwards to other people, for me, I want to give you an experience. Yeah. So whenever I had passengers on aboard my aircraft, I didn't want you to forget me. Like, if you saw me again, I wanted you to come in, hey, I remember you from the last time that I had a flight with you. Aww. That's how I always did stuff. So when I meet people that, to me, they go like above and beyond. I always say give the Chick-fil-A experience. Yes. Anytime you go to Chick-fil-A, if somebody's having a bad day, they're probably fired the next day. If they're having a bad day and expressing it outwardly, I should say it like that. Yeah. Because this dude at that Sky Wheel was very inviting. He was welcoming. Mm-hmm. And at one time that we had rotated around, he even like waved and did like this.
So sweet.
And I watched him. He didn't do that with everybody. You know. He didn't like that level of excitement and things, or waved as everybody else was, you know, going by. He waved as he saw us coming back around. And I appreciated that. Mm-hmm. That made that experience of going on that wheel just that much more better. Also, being able to have this lovely person sitting across from me, even when we rotated and swapped sides and the chair moved a little bit.
Y'all, I am afraid of heights. I disguise it very well. Actually, let me rephrase that. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling from a high height. And I disguise that very well because, like I said, I get on the Ferris wheel, a big wheel, every single time we go somewhere. Every single time we go to a city. We did it in Philly, but that wasn't a big wheel. We did it twice in National Harbor here in Maryland. And now we literally did that in Canada. So that is our thing. Every time we go into a city with a Ferris wheel, we are going to get on the Ferris wheel. But understand this, Shell Bell is afraid of falling from high heights. So when you get on those sky wheels, those big wheels, they tell you pick a seat and don't move. And they actually tell you to equally distribute weight. So if there are two people, both people shouldn't sit on one side of the ride. One should sit on one side, the other should sit on the other side so that it equally distributes weight instead of having like one side being totally weighed down. So we're sitting, we get on, everything is Gucci Mane, right? Here go King. Let's switch seats. And like he says this when we're all the way at the top, and I'm like,
because I wanted to see a view too. I gave her the side with the view for the first part of the ride. I wanted to see the view too instead of having to turn this big old neck around.
Y'all, look, I'm sitting here, I scoot to the, oh no. Oh, my bad. Lesson learned. I scoot to the edge of my seat, and I'm like touching the other side, and I'm like, okay, same time. And like we had to rotate really quickly. So yes, it was nice. Shout out to you, baby.
Oh, thank you, baby. Shout out to you.
Okay. Any other shout outs?
Those are all of my shout outs.
Okay.
All right. The last thing, the expensive. Pretty much everything.
Yeah, everything was so much expensive. Y'all, let me tell you, we live in Maryland. Our sales tax is 6%. We went up to New York. Sales tax is 8.75%. Okay?
That 2%, you see it. Especially when you're used to certain prices for certain things. Like a Coke here or a 20 ounce here is a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
When you get to New York, that 2 for $5 on your prime drinks or whatever is like 2 for $6.50.
Oh, I forgot someone I wanted to shout out.
Ooh, go back.
So, random thing about me, I don't know why I wait till the last minute to do grocery shopping whenever I go on a trip, but I always end up having to order from Instacart. I don't know why. It's a thing. So we ordered from, King ordered food, what was it, Thursday night?
On Uber Eats, yeah.
Yeah,
Thursday
he
night for the
ordered
football
food
game.
on Thursday night from Uber Eats, and I ordered from Instacart. Now, Instacart straight told me that my food was probably going to take like an hour to get delivered. When I tell you that man had my order delivered, like shopped and delivered within 15 minutes, like that was the quickest Instacart ride I've ever had. So shout out to him, but also shout out to King's Uber Eats delivery guy. Both of those gentlemen were extremely nice, and they were quick, they were prompt, they did everything that we asked them to. So shout out to y'all, and shout out to our the housekeeping staff at the hotel because they were phenomenal as well. So shout out to the whole hotel.
I'm glad that you said those.
Yeah.
Oh, and coming back, shout out to Sora Ross.
So
hey Ross.
Hey Ross. So running joke is that I can't go anywhere without running into people that I know. And because I'm always running into people and I post so many pictures and stuff with King, King and Castle both said that it's getting to the point where people recognize them straight from my content. Well, it happened today. When we got back, we went to Panera, and King just so happened to be in Panera with one of my sorors and her husband. And they definitely, they recognize King from my content. So there's that.
Now, I don't want to gloss over the expensive. Just for an example, the burger that I had was listed in Canadian dollars as 22 Canadian dollars. And that was for burger and fries. Great burger, fantastic fries, but it was 22 Canadian dollars. So that's, I'm going to guess, roughly about $18. So you're talking Five Guys type prices. And that was like you can say like the cheapest thing on the
Yeah.
menu.
Mm-hmm.
So in the touristy areas in Canada, the Clifton Hill stuff, you're going to pay a premium on things that you do and food that you eat. Just budget for that.
Also budget for, so y'all saw our video that aired today, I believe, hopefully, because if not, like, again, why you ain't following? Why you not liking and, looking at all the content? But that's neither here nor there. But you saw the video that we aired of the beautiful Casa Loma castle that we got to visit yesterday, which was absolutely phenomenal. Like, can you, Mr. Listener, you, Mrs. Listener, can you say that you've ever been inside of a castle? No? We can, okay? So we went into a castle, and it is literally billed as the only castle in North America. So, like, in the entire continent, this is the only castle, and we done been up inside of it. But let me tell you what, that sucker cost 45 Canadian dollars per person to go up in that joint, okay?
Per person. And that was included, like, they said for that day, because there were events and things that were going to be going on. Anybody ages 4 and up, 45 Canadian dollars.
45.
It didn't matter.
Okay.
It's different on your normal days, but in that moment, 45 Canadian dollars per person, which is roughly 39, 40 bucks US dollars per person. So I can't do quick math. 40 times 3, $120 just to walk up in that sucker. All right.
And now, don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful castle.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous. We didn't know what kind of show we were walking in on. Apparently, we got there like 20 minutes before a show was about to take place, and it was that beautiful aerial performance, which was absolutely amazing. Again, you saw the video because we posted it earlier. It was a 5-minute, 45-second performance, but you saw about a minute of it. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, King was like holding his breath. And the part that I showed, like, it was phenomenal. It was kind of the summation of everything that she did, but y'all, it was an amazing performance. We walked all the way up, like Beyonce, Love on Top, Drake,
Nice.
started from the bottom. Now we're here. Like, we went all. Jesus was not that far away from us. Like, that's how far up we went. Okay, we had to climb a rack of stairs, and then we had to walk up this windy staircase,
which was the only windy staircase to go up and down.
We walked all the way up. Oh man. And then we got to see the most amazing view of essentially the parking lot of that particular place. But it was nice.
But no, it depended on the area, because where I went over and I looked, it gave a nice view of the city.
Oh, okay. See, by that time I was trying to get in the line to get back down.
Yes.
Because we got all the way up to the top, and everyone had the same comment, like, oh, well, you're making us walk up these windy stairs to go all the way up. There has to be a safer way to come back down.
Nope.
I will say, so this was a conversation Castle and I got to have. In America, we have the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, that says that buildings have to offer an alternative for people who are differently abled to be able to maneuver throughout the building.
That is correct.
There are some buildings in the U.S. that, because of their age, have been grandfathered in, and they don't have to make those accommodations. I worked in one of those such buildings during one of my stints of working in D.C. So when we got there and we got all the way up those stairs, I was like, man, I know ADA is an American thing, but y'all ain't got no Canadian equivalent or something like that. Because there were some places that we saw in that castle that, unfortunately, if you have an issue with mobility, you would not have been able to see it.
Nope.
And that was definitely one of those things. Like, the roof was beautiful, but it was not something that you would have been able to see if you had any mobility issues or any other type of being differently abled that prevented you from being able to climb or something like that. That would not have been the thing for you, and you would have missed out. But that sucker, again, 45 Canadian dollars, and it was packed. It was packed to the bricks in that place.
Oh yeah, they made money that day.
Oh, they made money, okay? But it was beautiful. Like,
yes.
There was an underground tunnel, and there was something that led everywhere. So we could have gone and seen wax figures. We got to see an area where scenes from X-Men were recorded, Professor X's office. We got to see all of that. We didn't see all the wax figures and everything else that they had said were in there because by that time we were hungry and hunger won. So we needed to leave and go and handle that. But it was a great experience. It was pricey. Like everything was pricey. And this is even taken in the fact that again the US dollar is stronger. So technically it was cheaper for us than it was for Canadians to be able to experience that.
All right. Well, we went longer than I thought that we were going to, but I think we talked about a lot. We shared a lot.
You're ready to
as
end,
well.
aren't you? Well, I do
And
want an ice cream. There's ice cream upstairs.
I'm not ready to end, but we are at that point where we should end.
What's that point?
We've covered everything that we wanted to cover, so that's the point.
Aww.
Now, I'm going to add this, and
What's that?
then I'll give you the floor as well to say something, and we'll see if anybody has anything that they want to ask, and we'll close out.
Okay.
Oh, before I even get into that,
Oh yeah.
I had to give me some Canadian maple syrup. So if anybody want to come over and enjoy some pancakes with me with this maple syrup, holla at me and we'll talk. So,
What up?
overall,
Overall.
this was the last trip of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The second one where we traveled with me, you, and Castle, right?
Fourth. This is our fourth trip together.
Our fourth trip traveling where we stayed overnight together?
Yep.
What were the other ones?
New York.
Besides Delaware. Okay, New York.
New York, Rehoboth Beach.
Rehoboth Beach.
Thanksgiving.
And
this.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it was our fourth trip together.
Yep.
Overall, I enjoyed it. I did share that my default mode of travel is to dip out on my own and do my own thing because I like to move the way I like to move. In my travels across all the countries that I've been to, even just in the States, whenever I go into a city or a new area, I like to explore something locally, something that I can't get back from my home state.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter is the most pickiest eater that I know personally.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be restrictive to go places because she'll look at the menu and be like, I don't like anything here. I'm like, how do you know if you've never tried it? So I can't eat the way that I want to eat, and I like to eat. I can't eat the way that I want to eat when I've got my daughter with me. But overall, to see how she looked during that aerial performance, to know that at her age, she's getting to experience things that I think can help shape her as an adult, and to experience it with you as well in the mix where, do you mind us sharing what we talked about in the car real quick? Where I said, okay, you said that you don't mind taking care of...
Oh, that conversation. Yeah, you
Yes.
can go ahead.
Okay. So for me, I look at it as I like to be the one who, let me take care of the big stuff, right? Let me also worry about the security of everybody. And like, it's not the money thing. I don't care about spending money. I've never cared about that. I've always cared about the experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to do something with you or whoever, how appreciative of you are that? Because if you're not appreciative, if I'm going to say, hey, let's go out and grab something to eat, and then you're going to nitpick every little thing, I'm not going to want to go out to eat with you again. I'm not going to invite you to do things because I'm going to want to enjoy. Yes, there are going to be instances of people being, whatever, like not everything is going to be just perfect the way you want it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to call that stuff out every single time, I'm not going to want to move with you, right? Like move out and about and things. So to be able to take care of things and then know that you're going to look out for everything else. You said, can you say specifically the way that you said it? Because I'm going to butcher it.
So what I said to him, we had just stopped at this random barbecue spot on the road, And I said to King, I said, you take care of the family, I'll take care of you.
Yes.
And that is my way of saying, King, you provide, you you cover, you keep us safe, you do all of that, and I will make sure that you're taken care of. And for me, that means, okay, literally making sure that, he has some ice in his now room temperature water, because he don't like room temperature water.
Nope.
So making sure that he has some ice to drink that with, making sure that Castle's okay, doing those things so that he can worry about the bigger picture of us is important to me.
I did I did all of the driving. But
You did.
But that's
Every single step.
That's not, like, I don't say that to, any type of, I love driving, but also is let me take care of that responsibility while you look out for the other stuff. She literally said, you take care of all of it, I'll take care of you. And just in that, it's the small things that Michelle tries to anticipate, that she looks out for, that I don't even think about. Like, this is small, but it's not. When I got the barbecue sandwich, you got the additional barbecue sauce. I didn't know if it was going to come with barbecue sauce on it, but when I got in the car, I was like, oh, thank you. I'm glad that you did. The sandwich did come with it on it, but what if it didn't?
Yeah.
You had already thought of that and just got it without even asking me. You just, I'm going to do this. We're going to have this extra because I don't know. And you took care of that without me having to ask or anything like that. And you do that often on other things too. And I may not say it, but I see it. And I want to say thank you.
Welcome, baby.
All right. So Free T said, teamwork makes the dream work. Yes, it does. And my dad said something too.
Yeah, your dad said, great show, you guys. I'm going to the next time.
You sold it on me
For
for show.
sure.
Hey, we need to take a trip, Pops. Now, I'm going to say very publicly, I said for this upcoming year, we have one trip
We got
planned.
one trip planned, and I'm trying to sneak in the Christmas trip. I'm trying. Y'all, help me, okay? Help me. Help me help you. You want great Christmas content? We got to go on a Christmas trip.
I like that. So, is it okay to announce where we're going?
Yeah.
Okay, so her family reunion is in Pittsburgh this upcoming summer. And me, Michelle, and Castle are all going to go. So I'm going to meet a lot more of her father's side of the family.
Oh, yeah. He going to meet all the Americans. Because if you know me, mom's side is Jamaican, dad's side is American. He going to go hang out with the Americans.
And y'all get together, is it every year or every other year?
Every other.
Every other year. So I'm going to meet more of them. Some of them I've talked to on the phone. Some I've met.
Yeah, some you met.
Like a small amount I've met or whatnot. So I'm looking forward to it. But the only reason why it's the only planned travel is before I met Michelle, I had this goal of how I wanted this upcoming year to look.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2024, I said I want to eliminate debt as much as I can to be able to make my net worth go on the other side of the balance line. So I was going to have a year of grinding, and I've done it before. After my divorce, I was able to get to where I'm at now, to where, look, I'm good, I'm comfortable, but if I want to provide and be able to do things like up and just, I want to go to Jamaica tomorrow. I can buy my ticket and
That's
go.
That's really getting in your craw, ain't it?
Shout out to my sister in Jamaica right now. Loving life. Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Happy New Year.
But so we don't have any planned trips like that because I said I want to take every opportunity that I can when I'm not doing my primary job. And I'm going to say this content creation thing I am looking at as a business, as a job as well. But I'm going to look at opportunities to trade time for money to earn additional income so that I can eradicate all consumer debt, all loans, everything. If I execute my plan the way I have it in place, I'll be able to knock out everything except for my car loan. And that is going to be a freeing thing for me because I look at debt as being a slave, essentially. And some people are going to hear that and go, okay, King. But no, I think that if you are in debt, then you're a slave to that debt until you can get out from it. So for me personally, I said, you know what? Let's just knock all of this out so I can be, as some people say, financially free. And that's my goal. And it's not just for me. Even before you came into the picture, that was my goal. But it's going to have a benefit for everybody that's on this Smith train. So I'm just going to say it that way. But I've shared that with Michelle. She understands that because it's going to possibly affect how much time we can spend together. We have built-in time that we are going to spend together that's not going to change with the different stuff that we're doing, like ASL. We can announce that because Castle's not watching our live show. So she knows a little bit of American Sign Language already. I'm learning it, and the Toastmasters,
Thursday night football,
while football still going on.
Our
So
Monday podcast, like we still have opportunities.
We have opportunities, but it's.
But we're both going into 2024 with grind mentality.
Yes. So
I have writing to do. You have debt to knock out.
You have another book to start.
I do have
Are you going to start it?
I do.
Okay.
I will. Sorry. No, I do. I will.
Okay. So Dad said, are we still doing the Outer Banks this summer? Pops, I just made the decision actually about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm not going this year.
And it's partially because of the school year. Like, I just want to say that. So, barring us completing on time with no snow days being used, students don't end until June 5th. And that trip it's going to be happening already. So, that's a Wednesday. And the trip ends on that Friday or Saturday or something like that. So, because of that, King would either have to wait, or I would be bringing Castle down, and I wouldn't be able to go until the following day. So
it was a decision that was made because I have to, let's take Michelle out the picture. I would have had to been back for Castle because that's my agreed upon time with Cassie to get Castle for the summer. And it wouldn't have made sense to spend the money that I would have had to spend for 2 or 3 days, essentially, to have to come back and do my responsibility with Castle. So I'm not going this upcoming year. I've told Billy and Nicole, and it is what it is. But the other part of it is, too, let me just say it, that's an opportunity to hit grind mode activate. So everything else actually comes secondary. And when I thought about it, I said that I'm going to have to make that decision. So I'm going to have to say no, unless the opportunity is it has to be a fantastic opportunity that is going to provide 4 to 5 times the value of what I would have normally gotten out of that weekend. Yeah. I have to look at it that way.
For example, if there's an opportunity that comes up for us to take a campus tour with Castle this summer.
Yes.
Well,
on my weekends that I had her anyway, that was going to be the case.
Yeah, see, there you go.
All right. So did I miss anything before we close off? We are going to still be live on
We'll be live on
Monday
at
7 p.m. The New Year's Day live stream after we spend New Year's Eve with Castle, Cassie, and if I understand, Mr. Kirksey's going to be in town. So this will be an interesting New Year's Eve.
And Castle.
Oh, and Castle's boyfriend? Yeah, boyfriend. So
I love the way Southerners say boyfriend.
We're gonna go to D&B's. I'll announce that. I don't think there's any issue with that. We're going to Dave and Buster's, and we're gonna bring in the New Year's, playing games and having fun,
and whooping butt,
and spanking everybody else in whatever they got going on.
Doesn't matter. Bam. It's us. Okay.
All right, y'all. Hey, for those of y'all that tuned in, thank you. Thank you. If you hadn't already, do us a solid. If your platform has a like button, hit that like button for us. And shout out to the new subscribers. We had 113 people before Wednesday on our YouTube channel, and it's jumped up to a little bit over 310 in the last 2 days. So thank you to our new subscribers. We appreciate y'all rocking with us.
Yes, thank you for indulging us in this content and for what I did.
I didn't want your hair to rub the mic, and I just want to see your neck. I'm about to kiss you here in a second. Free T said, great show as always. Y'all are cool people. See y'all next week. Congrats on the new subbies. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Whatever you do, however you choose to bring in the new year, please be safe.
Be safe. Have a plan.
Please be vigilant. Please have a plan. I would rather, especially if you're local, I'd rather you call and ask for a ride somewhere than for you to make a decision that could possibly bring devastation to yourself and to others. So please have a plan. Please be vigilant. Have fun. Okay? Have fun. If you're going to church, enjoy yourself there. Please still be safe. Please still be vigilant. Whatever you do. You know, we love you. We are so grateful to be able to spend time with you. King's about to say something.
I got one thing to add. Look, just think about it this way. If you do something that throw your butt in jail, you ain't getting out till like Wednesday at the earliest, probably. So just think about that.
You know, it's funny. My sister would have said something like that.
People don't think about that kind of stuff.
Have you been around my sister for too long?
No. But people don't think about that kind of stuff. So look, we trying to offer practical advice over
That's
here.
what we do up in these state industries.
Take your butt to jail on New Year's Eve. You ain't seeing a judge till Wednesday.
So speaking of new, did you peep our new logo?
Yes.
Shout out to Prodigal Designs, my homeboy Warren. He and I went to elementary and middle school together. And then we split up for high school. But shout out to him. Had an opportunity to support his business. I'm going to be real honest. For the next, 27 hours, he is running a discount sale where all of his items are discounted down to $23. So you can email him at prodigaldesigns@gmail.com, I think it is. Or just, if you follow us and you send us a message real quick, we'll shoot you his email address. But yeah, he created this fire logo for us. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of that in 2024.
Yep, because our producer needs to update everything.
Everything. All right, y'all. So happy New Year to you. Today is Nia as far as Kwanzaa is concerned, which means purpose. So everything that you do it with purpose and intentionality. Make sure you out there. If you know God has called you to do something, or you know that you have something you need to do it with purpose and intentionality. That is what today is for. That is what Nia is for. NIA as far as Kwanzaa. Okay? We love you. Autumn holidays. Happy whatever it may be to you. Love you. Mwah.
All right. You kiss them. I'm kissing you.
Kiss me.
Mwah. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
And